Over the years, mixed martial arts has become associated with and has often produced some of the most bitter rivalries in all of professional sports. Since nothing sells pay-per-views quite like a good old-fashioned grudge match, there's sometimes a tendency to emphasize the animosity between two fighters. That said, in many cases, there is also a great deal of respect amongst competitors. So, in a world full of negative headlines, we've decided to flip the script and reflect on some of the most touching moments between these remarkable athletes. As always, if you guys enjoy this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Now, without further ado, and ranked in no particular order, let's take a look at 10 beautiful moments of respect in MMA. Number 10. Alistair Overeem vs Walt Harris. After consecutive knockout victories in 2019, Walt the Big Ticket Harris had shown he was ready for a step up in competition. As such, he was initially scheduled to face Alistair the Demolition Man Overeem towards the end of the same year. Sadly, while preparing for what would be the biggest fight of his career, his stepdaughter Anaya Blanchard was reported missing. Moreover, the police suspected foul play. The disappearance received mainstream media attention, while the MMA community rallied behind Harris and his family, with some of the sport's most prominent figures, including UFC President Dana White and former light heavyweight champ John Jones, both offering $25,000 in rewards. But unfortunately, the story did not have a happy ending. On November the 25th, 2019, police discovered the remains of a girl who they believed to be Anaya Blanchard. Tragically, just 2 days later, her identity was confirmed. As of right now, they have the suspect who is believed to be responsible for her death and are currently awaiting the trial for capital murder. Understandably, Harris postponed his December showdown with Overeem to be with his family. However, in May of 2020, the two heavyweights finally met inside the cage. And in the second round of the contest, Overeem managed to secure a TKO victory. But rather than celebrating a hard-fought win, in recognition of the personal hardships that his opponent had endured, Overeem dropped to a knee and proceeded to embrace Harris. They would go on to hug in the centre of the octagon in what can only be described as a very touching moment. Number 9. Conor McGregor vs Donald Cerrone. The notorious Conor McGregor is, without question, the biggest star in mixed martial arts. That said, due to some exploits outside of the cage, the Irishman has become a polarising figure in recent years. While McGregor made a name for himself by trash-talking his opponents, the former two-division champ showed nothing but respect for his UFC 246 counterpart Donald Cowboy Cerrone, with the two being surprisingly cordial at the pre-fight press conference. And the mutual respect continued even after the fight concluded. Just 40 seconds into the contest, McGregor had earned an impressive TKO victory. After the win, the notorious one darted across the ring to console his fallen opponent. McGregor followed things up with an even classier gesture by giving Cerrone's grandmother a big hug. This was a pleasantly surprising moment of respect from someone who is well known for his controversial behaviour. Number 8. Nick Diaz vs Anderson Silva. Nick Diaz is a no-nonsense fighter who has never been shy about sharing his opinion or saying what's on his mind. His straightforward nature is one of the many things that has made him a cult favourite amongst MMA fans. Despite this bad boy image, the Stockton product has on occasion revealed a softer side. At UFC 183, the California native was set to take on Anderson the Spider Silva. After failing to recapture his middleweight crown and suffering a horrific injury, the Brazilian would be stepping into the cage for the first time in over a year. While the fight went the distance, in the end, Silva emerged the victor via unanimous decision. So, after coming back from a gruesome leg injury, the Spider was understandably emotional. Once the fight had ended, Silva hit the mat and began to weep. Uncharacteristically, a sympathetic Nick Diaz walked over to his opponent, picked him up off the floor and told him to stop crying, with the two then hugging it out. And yes, Silva's win may have ultimately been overturned due to a failed drug test, but the post-fight exchange remains one of the UFC's most memorable feel-good moments. Number 7. Anderson Silva vs Israel Adesanya. Given his similar frame, unorthodox striking, and the fact that he fights in the same weight class, the last stylebender Israel Adesanya is often compared to the legendary Anderson Silva. And at UFC 234, fans got to see the similarities firsthand. Admittedly, Silva had his moments, but in the end, his younger adversary would do enough to earn a unanimous decision victory. It would be a fight that in some way signalled a passing of the middleweight torch. And once the fight concluded, fans were happy to see that the two men embraced. Moreover, in the ultimate show of respect, the gladiators knelt and bowed before one another. It was not only a touching moment for MMA fans, but one that brought Israel Adesanya to tears. Number 6. Michael Bisping vs Anderson Silva. Following the last two entries, it's fair to say that Anderson Silva is an athlete who has earned the respect of his peers. One of the many fighters who appreciates the Spider's contributions to the sport is his former opponent, Michael the Count Bisping. While tensions were admittedly high prior to their match, all of the bad blood was pushed to one side once the fight had concluded. In what would be his most significant win at the time, the Englishman earned a hard-fought victory over Silva in front of a partisan London crowd. Bisping embraced the middleweight legend and bowed as a sign of appreciation for Silva's Hall of Fame-worthy career.
Anderson, I know I said things. The respect I have to you, for you, you cannot measure. You cannot measure. You inspired me. When I started, I was a young, cocky kid, saying things I regret. And the whole time I was looking at this guy thinking, wow, I want to be like that guy. Anderson, thank you.
To this day, Michael Bisping considers the outcome against Anderson Silva the biggest win of his career. Number 5. Dustin Poirier vs Max Holloway 2. Max Bless Holloway and Dustin Poirier have long been considered two of the best the sport of mixed martial arts has to offer. On top of that, they are also two of the classiest fighters you'll ever see. At UFC 236, the two gentlemen went toe-to-toe for the interim UFC lightweight championship. While there was a huge amount of respect shared between Holloway and Poirier before their showdown, the two developed even more respect for each other after their 5-round war. In a bout that would win Fight of the Night honours, it was Poirier who prevailed on the judges' scorecards. As one might expect, the two champions embraced one another and followed it up by exchanging pleasantries. In an even classier move backstage, Poirier took time to comfort Holloway's son, who was visibly upset by his father's setback. Number 4. Daniel Cormier vs Alexander Gustafsson. In his prime, Sweden's Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson was a fighter who was more than capable of pushing champions to their limits. At UFC 165, in a Hall of Fame bout, Gustafsson nearly became the first man to defeat then light heavyweight champ John Jones. Roughly 2 years later, in October of 2015, the Mauler once again came ever so close to becoming a UFC champion, as he narrowly lost a split decision loss to Daniel Cormier at UFC 192. The fighters battled for 5 rounds in a contest in which both competitors clearly left it all in the cage. In his post-fight interview, an emotional Cormier gave his opponent the ultimate compliment by stating that Gustafsson made him both a better fighter and a better man.
Thank you, Alexander Gustafsson. You made me a better man and fighter tonight. I will forever be indebted to you and your performance tonight. Alex, thank you. Thank you.
Number 3. Khabib Nurmagomedov vs Dustin Poirier. After coming off of one of the most heated feuds in MMA history with Conor McGregor, lightweight champ Khabib Nurmagomedov was set to defend his title against Dustin Poirier at UFC 242. Unlike the rivalry with the Irishman, the lead-up to Poirier vs Nurmagomedov was mostly uneventful. It was clear from the start that both fighters respected one another, which was highlighted once their bout had concluded. Admittedly, the fight itself was mostly a one-sided affair, and in the 3rd round, Nurmagomedov managed to lock in a rear-naked choke to defend his lightweight title. Once the result was official, in a show of sportsmanship, the two fighters hugged one another and exchanged their walkout shirts. In his post-fight interview, Khabib also announced that he would be auctioning off his shirt and donating the proceeds to Poirier's charity.
Why I wear this t-shirt? I know Dustin do a lot of charity stuff. Guys, make sure I'm gonna sell this t-shirt. All this money I'm gonna send Dustin Poirier.
The shirt went on to sell for over $100,000, with UFC President Dana White agreeing to match the donation. Number 2. Lyoto Machida vs Mark Munoz. Though fighters generally try to avoid it, there are times when teammates and training partners meet in the centre of the octagon. At UFC Fight Night 30, the main event was supposed to be Mark Munoz vs Michael Bisping. However, Bisping was forced out of action due to an eye injury, which left the promotion needing a big-name replacement. So, Mark's teammate Lyoto the Dragon Machida reluctantly agreed to step in and fill the void. In the end, it took Machida just over 3 minutes to land a devastating head kick and, in turn, finish the contest. After securing the victory, the Dragon bowed and immediately headed over to comfort his fallen comrade. This display of respect served to highlight the kind of bond between teammates that only professional fighters can truly understand. Number 1. Georges St. Pierre vs Michael Bisping. Georges Rush St. Pierre may very well be the greatest fighter of all time, with the proud French Canadian also having a reputation for embodying what mixed martial arts should be about as both an ambassador and a sportsman. At UFC 217, after roughly 4 years away from the cage, St. Pierre returned to face middleweight champ Michael Bisping. If victorious, Rush would become one of only a handful of fighters to hold titles in multiple weight classes. Apparently, ring rust wasn't a factor, as GSP went on to choke out the Englishman as the third round was coming to a close. But rather than gloating or celebrating a remarkable accomplishment, the new middleweight king decided to embrace his vanquished foe as the two proceeded to shake hands and exchange some comforting words.
Michael is, man, he's the toughest guy I've fought. This man is amazing. I'm a fighter, but I've been a fan of this man. He's a true example of hard work and perseverance in the sport. So Michael, man, all my respect to you, man.
As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Apart from that, thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.